Chapter 622. Hu Liancheng knew that Jian Yun's grudge had not completely disappeared. She still needed time. Therefore, it was very important to stop at this time. Of course, the Liao family did not dare to do anything to Hu Liancheng. The current Liao family was like being roasted on a fire. There were political enemies eyeing them covetously from the outside, and it wasn't peaceful inside either. Their source of income was completely suppressed by Hu Liancheng. After all, Liao Zhongli was old. In his anger, his blood pressure surged and he almost burst his blood vessels. He had already been staying in the sanatorium for a long time. Now, the one in charge of Liao family was Liao Shigong. His days were not good either. He had just finished his business in the morning and had not even finished his meal when he received a call from the bodyguard he sent to watch Mu Fangfang. At that time, he was so angry that he almost burst his blood vessels like his father. Before 5 o'clock in the evening, Jian Yun saw Hu Liancheng, who had been sticking by her side for the whole day, pick up a phone call. Then, his expression turned cold. He said that he had something to do and wanted to go out, so he hurriedly left. During the phone call just now, Jian Yun also vaguely heard Hu Liancheng and General Liao greet each other. She understood that Liao Shigong should have known about Mo Fangfang's matter and rushed to Green Lake from the capital. This speed was really fast. So Liao Shigong came to stand up for Ma Fangfang and Liao Keiyu? After all, they were his wife and daughter. At that time, Hu Liancheng came to a villa in the outskirts of Qingyu City. Outside the villa, 2 young men dressed in casual clothes, but stood upright, immediately came to welcome him. There was only a Zunfeng behind Hu Liancheng, but the 2 people who had obviously undergone special training did not dare to neglect him. They very respectfully welcomed Hu Liancheng into the villa. This villa was not big. It was the property of the Liao family in Qing City. Currently, Liao Shigong was sitting on the sofa in the living room. His face was dark and his body was cold. Beside him stood Mu Fangfang, who had arrived earlier than Hu Liancheng. She was wrapped in gauze and her face was as pale as paper. Her expression was also filled with fear and anxiety. In just half a day's time, Mo Fangfang's entire body was haggard. At this moment, she did not seem to have the bearing of the previous high and mighty general's wife. Her entire body was trembling like a frightened bird. General Liao. After Hu Liancheng came in, he did not even look at Mo Fangfang and directly sat opposite Liao Shigong. This unfamiliar address made Liao Shigong, who had lowered his head and was deep in thought, frown. Liancheng, do you really have to treat me like this? Liao Shigong's tone was filled with dissatisfaction. Where did General Liao get that from? Liao Shigong asked. My surname is Hu. Your surname is Liao. You are an outsider to begin with. How can you say that? Hu Liancheng narrowed his eyes and said coldly. He didn't give Liao Shigong any face at all. Liao Shigong's expression turned ugly when he heard this. He turned his head and looked at Mu Fangfang. The corner of his eyes twitched and a cold light flashed. Mu Fangfang could not help but shrink. She trembled even more violently. Hu Liancheng's words came from Mu Fangfang's mouth. When the Liao family was in trouble and was at a loss for what to do, Mu Fangfang came up with a plan. However, whether it was Liao Zhongli or Liao Shigong, they all knew that Hu Liancheng was unruly and could not be tamed. They did not agree for a moment. After all, Hu Liancheng grew up in the Liao family. Old General Liao valued his great-grandson more than the younger generation of the Liao family. They were not willing to use Hu Liancheng's marriage as a bargaining chip. Mu Fangfang had said that Hu Liancheng's surname was Hu. No matter how good his relationship with the Liao family was, he was still an outsider. Hu Liancheng somehow found out about this. Those are just some ignorant women talking nonsense. Liancheng, you also know how much the old general dotes on you. Anyone can be an outsider. You can't be. Liao Shigong also felt a lot of pressure when he faced Hu Liancheng. This kid was too gloomy. He had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Most people were not as powerful as him. Hu Liancheng was too lazy to argue with Liao Shigong. With a wave of his hand, someone was pushed in from outside the door. That person was slim, and it was obvious that she was a woman. However, she staggered as she walked. She looked like she was on the verge of collapse. She moaned as she walked. Keiya? Mo Fangfang immediately recognized Liao Keiyu. She immediately rushed over and hugged Liao Keiyu. She saw her face was covered with gauze and swollen cheeks. She could not help but cry out. Liao Keiyu's face was full of fear, but when she saw Liao Shigong, she knelt and crawled over. She could not speak and could only use her eyes to express her fear and pain. Tears rolled down her face and she looked very pitiful. When Liao Shigong saw Liao Qiyu's miserable state, his eyelids twitched. His face showed that he could not bear it. He looked at Hu Liancheng with anger in his fierce eyes. Hu Liancheng, Qiyu is your cousin no matter what. Are you so cruel and merciless that you don't even let a woman go? Hu Liancheng sneered and threw a phone to Liao Shigong. General Liao better see what your good daughter has done to express her opinion. Liao Shigong caught the phone and recognized it was Liao Qiyu's. Her phone was still covered with a pink shell. He looked at Hu Liancheng suspiciously and then looked at Liao Qiyu. He found that Liao Qiyu, who was crying so hard just now, was avoiding his eyes. Mu Fangfeiong also looked at Liao Shigong nervously. She knew that Liao Qiyu had synthesized the picture. At that time, she had also opposed it. But Liao Qiyu said that nothing would happen and no one would know. Even if Jian Yun would tell Hu Liancheng after seeing it. She had already deleted those photos. At that time, without evidence, Hu Liancheng would not be able to say anything. But she did not expect Liao Qiyu to keep those photos and not delete them. Now, she was even discovered by Hu Liancheng. If Liao Shigong saw it again. Ma Fangfeiong did not think of a way to deal with it when she saw Liao Shigong had already switched on Liao Qiyu's phone. A look of despair appeared on her face. Before she could say anything, she saw Liao Shigong's expression suddenly change. Then, she flew into a rage. He grabbed the teacup on the tea table and smashed it towards Liao Qiyu. No. Mu Fangfang cried out in shock and pounced on Liao Qiyu. She protected Liao Qiyu and the teacup hit her forehead. With a bang, the teacup fell to the ground and shattered. At the same time, it dripped down with the blood that flowed out of Mu Fangfang's mouth from the wound on her head. Mom, Mom! Liao Qiyu cried out in fear and affected the wound. It was so painful that she used her head to hit the ground. Liao Shigong had always doted on Liao Qiyu. When he saw this, his face showed a trace of pity. Hu Liancheng was playing with a lighter in his hand. His eyes were as sharp as blades. He said sarcastically, "Is this General Liao's good daughter? It seems like the Liao family's family style is shameless." General Liao felt that if this matter were to spread, would the Liao family's reputation rise to a whole new level? Hu Liancheng, don't go too far. Liao Shigong was already feeling frustrated, but when he heard Hu Liancheng's words, he immediately became angry. Go too far? General Liao wants to see how your good wife and daughter apologize. Hu Liancheng sneered. He waved his hand. Sun Feng clicked on the video on his phone and put it on the table in front of Liao Shigong. It recorded the scene in the morning tea room. The video was taken from Jian Yun's back. So Mo Fangfang's arrogance and Liao Qiyu's arrogance were clearly recorded, including what they said. When Liao Shigong heard the conversation, his entire body was wrapped in gloom. His iron-blooded eyes were full of anger. His two hands were tightly clenched. He stood up straight and kicked Ma Fangfang's body. The pressure that belonged to the superior was completely released. Mu Fangfang groaned in pain. She felt that the bones in her body were about to break. But she did not dare to beg for mercy. The entire living room was instantly enveloped by a vicious aura. Other than Hu Liancheng, who was still playing with his lighter, everyone else felt a chill rise from the bottom of their feet. Liancheng, from the beginning to the end, my Liao family has indeed done a lot of wrong. I, Liao Shigong, am here today to apologize to you. As for these two idiots, I hope you can let me handle them. I will give you a satisfactory answer. Liao Shigong was after all a general of a country. Although his temperament was somewhat gloomy, his bearing was not something that ordinary people could compare with. The evidence was conclusive now. Mu Fangfang and Liao Qiyu were his wife and daughter. They had committed a mistake, and that was because he did not discipline them well. He had to bear the consequences. Hu Liancheng lifted his eyes and coldly looked at Liao Shigong, whose expression was cold and gloomy. A light flashed across his sharp eyes. When Liao Shigong saw that Hu Liancheng did not say anything, his heart could not help but beat. He knew very well how difficult this kid was to deal with and how scheming he was. Otherwise, how could he have turned the tables perfectly without any chance of winning? It could only be said that he hid too deeply. Liancheng, no matter what, you and I are still a family. Since all the misunderstandings have been resolved, I will definitely handle it impartially. I will not shield them and will definitely give you justice. Liao Shigong's expression was incomparably sincere. Men, arrest them and lock them up. Liao Shigong's expression was cold and cold. He did not contain the slightest bit of emotion. When Mu Fangfang who had been hugging Liao Keiyu and trembling all this while, heard what he said. She immediately panicked. No. No. Keiyu was injured. Liao Shigong, you can't lock her up. You have to take her to the hospital. Shut up. Liao Shigong was angry when he saw Mu Fangfang. All the trouble was caused by this woman. Now that Ma family was finished, she still did not know the severity of the matter. She still went to show off to Jian Yun. If Hu Liancheng was not satisfied with this matter, Liao family would be finished as well. Seeing two people coming over to take Liao Qiyu and Mu Fangfang away, Mu Fangfang suddenly punched and kicked. She screamed like she had gone mad. All of you get lost. She screamed. Perhaps she was dragged to the place where she was kicked. Blood immediately spurted out of her mouth. Her eyes were red like a ghost. Liao Keiyu was in pain and almost fainted. But when she saw Mu Fangfang's appearance, she was so scared that she trembled and collapsed to the ground. The two of them could not approach for a moment and looked at Liao Shigong. At this moment, Liao Shigong's expression was also very ugly. However, Mu Fangfang seemed to have gone crazy, as she desperately tore at her hair while howling. All of you people said that I was wrong. But what was wrong with me? If I didn't marry into the Liao family back then, the Mu family would have developed so quickly and in such a short time. From a third-rate family to a first-rate family? The Mu family's businesses were more or less related to the Liao family's in-laws. Do you think I want to steal the seal? If I don't do this, I will be attacked by the Ma family. My mother will cry to me. My father threatened me with severing ties with her. What can I do? Now, all of these people have been pushed aside. Mu Fangfang seemed to have gone mad. Her tears and snot covered her face. She did not have the elegant demeanor of a general's wife. She looked like a village woman throwing a tantrum. Liao Shigong, do you think I want to marry you? I don't love you at all, but they said I should sacrifice myself for my family and force me to marry you. I have had enough of your indifference these years. Liao Shigong was clearly very shocked when he heard Mu Fangfang's words. Shut up. Liao Shigong had a feeling that Mu Fang's next words would not be good. He wanted to stop her, but Ma Fangfang's strength was shocking when she went crazy. As soon as he got close, she bit and grabbed at him. The two men quickly pulled Mu Fangfang away. Mu Fangfang stared at Liao Shigong and sneered. Liao Shigong, what right do you have to tell me to shut up? Your Liao family is not much better. Back then, you wanted to suppress the political enemy. In fact, you don't need that much money. Moreover, it was you who came to ask me. That's why I told you that Mu family intended to marry Hu Liancheng. You all agreed to it back then. It was you who forced Hu Liancheng to do so. Now, all of you have pushed the blame to the back of your heads. It was all my fault. Do you all want face? Take her away. The veins on Liao Shigong's forehead were bulging. Mu family is finished. I knew you wouldn't let me go. I'm not afraid. I knew this day would come. You actually want me to apologize to that bitch? Why? Mu Fangfang grabbed a piece of broken porcelain from a teacup on the ground and pressed it against her neck. A fierce light burst out of her eyes and a strange smile appeared on her lips. Don't come over. If you come again, I'll kill myself. Hu Lancheng looked at Mu Fangfang coldly. He was still playing with the lighter as if he was not affected by Mu Fangfang's madness at all. He promised Jian Yun that he would not smoke anymore, but sometimes, it was really uncomfortable to get addicted to cigarettes. He could only smell the oil from the lighter and get addicted to it. Mu Fangfang felt a chill on her back when Hu Liancheng looked at her. She felt a chill in her heart. At this moment, she suddenly felt something flying in front of her eyes. Then her hand went numb and a heavy pain hit her. Mu Fangfang did not hold the broken porcelain piece in her hand firmly and cut it to the side. Instantly, her neck was cut and blood flowed out. She frantically reached out to cover it, but found that her palm was full of blood. Ah! Mu Fangfang cried out in horror. The one that hit Mu Fangfang was Hu Liancheng's lighter. At this time, Hu Liancheng also stood up. He was surrounded by a murderous aura. He was as cold as an Ashura walking out of hell. If you dare to insult Jian Yun again, I will break your neck next time. Hu Liancheng's tone was very calm, but no one would think that he was joking. Just because Mu Fangfang scolded Jian Yun, her carotid artery was almost cut. Everyone was shocked by Hu Liancheng's ruthlessness, and a chill rose in their hearts. Mu Fangfang's pain was unbearable, and the blood on her hands made her afraid. She shrank to the ground and did not dare to move. She just kept repeating, "You will regret it. You will regret it." 3 days later, I want the result. Hu Liancheng said without emotion. He lowered his head and looked at the lighter that had fallen into the blood. He frowned, his eyes filled with disgust. The lighter was dirty. He did not want it anymore. Let's go. Hu Liansheng adjusted his coat and walked to the door. General Liao, who had once commanded the army, did not make a sound. His aura was completely suppressed. A week later, Zhang Yun heard Cheng Mu's mention this matter. Only then did she know the result of the Liao family's treatment of Mu Fayang and Liao Keiyu. Ma Fahangfang stole the seal and used her identity as the general's wife to benefit the Mu family, causing a huge loss to the state-owned enterprises. It severely damaged the national interest and image of the military. Liao Shigong provided evidence to the police and made contributions. The police had already arrested Mu Fangfang. Just 3 days ago, Liao Shigong proposed a divorce. This was not the end. After Mu Fangfang was arrested, the last hope of the Mu family, which had long fallen apart, was broken. The once prominent family no longer existed. Mu Wanru saw Liao Keiyu and Mu Fangfang's fate. Afraid of getting revenge, she fled to Europe overnight, but was caught while changing planes. Now she was also arrested. The crime was that she had stolen a large amount of public funds. As for Liao Keiyu, her life was even worse now. It was said that she did not know who sent a letter to Liao Shigong. The letter contained DNA testing proof that the subject Liao Keiyu and Liao Shigong were not biological father and daughter. In other words, Liao Shigong had been helping others raise their children for the past 20 years. This matter concerned the pride of a man. It was a huge blow to Liao Shigong, especially when he was from an extraordinary background. He had been in the military all the way. He was young and held a high position in the military. Cheng Mu said that when Liao Shigong heard this news, he was furious. He smashed all the furniture in the room. Then, he went to the detention center to look for Ma Fangfang. As for what happened in the detention center, no one knew. Everyone only said that after Liao Shigong came back from the detention center, his entire aura seemed to be on fire. Of course, the fact that Liao Keiyu was not Liao Shigong's biological daughter naturally would not be publicized. Even in Liao family, only a very small number of people knew about it. Liao Keiyu was seriously injured by Hu Liancheng that day. Although her chin was connected, her bones were cracked. Now, it was difficult for her to swallow it, and because half of her teeth were broken, her face was almost ruined. But to Liao Keiyu, this wasn't the cruelest thing. When she found out that her father, who always doted on her, had given up and sent her out of the country without giving her anything, it was obvious that he was going to let her fend for herself. She was completely dumbfounded. Xian Yun was eating. Hu Laosheng was not here today. Although he had been staying in Qinghu for a long time, he still had to take 1 or 2 days out of the week to return to the imperial capital to handle some company matters. So when he was not around, Cheng Mu's would accompany Jian Yun throughout the day. Jian Yun heard Cheng Mu's words and bit her chopsticks. She did not make a sound for a long time. Sister Jian, do you think Mu Fangfang and Liao Keiyu's ending is very miserable? Do you feel uncomfortable in your heart? Cheng Mu's drank a mouthful of soup and looked at Jian Yun. Jian Yun thought for a while and nodded honestly. Then she shook her head. I don't feel good. I just feel a little uncomfortable. She did feel cruel. If Mu Fangfang and Liao Keiyu ended up like this, they probably would not have the chance to turn the situation around in their next lives. This was a fatal blow to women like them who had been pampered since they were young. But Jian Yun did not sympathize with them. She admitted that Mu Fangfang had hurt her and humiliated her, but this was only a matter of one person's upbringing and was not a serious crime. A large part of the reason why Liao family punished Mu Fangfang so severely was to let Hu Liancheng see. Of course, it was also due to Mu Fangfang herself. If it was not for the fact that she did not have principles to help her mother's family, and let the Liao family's political enemies take advantage of her, Liao Shigong would not hate her so much. As for Liao Keiyu, Jian Yun didn't feel any sympathy for her. The reason why Hu Liancheng hurt her was also because she knew that Hu Liancheng would hurt her. Liao Keiyu once cruelly kicked her pregnant. Even in the tea room that day, Liao Keiyu wanted to make a move. If she was still alone and Liao Keiyu brought a helper, Jian Yun did not dare to think about the consequences. Everyone's path is chosen by themselves. What kind of result can they reach in the end is the result of their own choice. Cheng Mu's put down his chopsticks and said calmly. Jian Yun raised her head to look at Cheng Mu's. There was a flash in her eyes. Cheng Mu's finished his bowl of soup and saw Jian Yun staring at him. He could not help laughing and said, Sister Jian, ask if you have something to say. Don't look at me like that. It's creepy. Xian Yun pursed her lips and her eyes flashed. Is Liu Qiu really not General Liao's daughter? She felt that this matter was full of strangeness. Why was there such a coincidence? What do you think? Cheng Mu's pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses and asked a question instead of answering. Xian Yun rested her chin on her hand and squinted at the formal smile on Cheng Mu's face. For a moment, she was not sure what he wanted to say. Sister Jian, if you want to know, go and ask fourth brother. He knows the whole story better than anyone else. I only heard about it by hearsay. Cheng Mu's looked at Jian Yun's suspicious eyes, and the smile on his face became bigger. When Jian Yun heard Cheng Mu's mention Hu Liancheng, her eyelashes trembled. She quickly lowered her eyes, picked up the bowl of soup, and drank a mouthful of soup. Speaking of which, ever since Mu Fangfang and her daughter's incident, her relationship with Hu Liancheng had eased up a little. Now, she was starting to get used to him being by her side. These 2 days when he went to the capital, she actually felt that there was something missing in her life. However, although the main conflict and misunderstanding between them had already been resolved, Jian Yun still did not have confidence. Could the relationship between her and him still be the same as before? This time, when Hu Liancheng returned to the imperial capital, he must have been delayed by too many things. He worked overtime for a few nights and did not sleep much. He had dealt with most of the matters. It was already 5 days later. Hu Liancheng did not care about cleaning himself up. He left the company and went straight to the helipad. His private plane was already waiting there. Hu Liancheng could not wait to rush back to King Hu. He was really eager to return home. This feeling was the same as when he and Jian Yun had just married. No matter how far he went, his heart was tied to him. Xian Yun was like a kite string. Her hands holding the kite made him infatuated. Before boarding the plane, Hu Liancheng looked at the time. At 9:44 in the morning, he could not help frowning. This number made him feel a little uncomfortable for some reason. But then Hu Liancheng remembered that Jian Yun had said on WeChat last night that she was going to go for the birth checkup today. She should be in the hospital by now, so he called Jian Yun. The call was quickly picked up. Xian Yun's soft voice sounded. When Hu Liancheng heard Jian Yun's voice, he immediately felt like a gentle breeze brushing his face. His mind was clear. All the fatigue from the past few days were swept away. His heart felt as sweet as honey. Is the pregnancy test over? Hu Liancheng's voice could not help but soften. The person driving in the driver's seat was Sunfang, who was also one of Hu Liancheng's special aides. When he heard that he was still releasing cold air at the company's morning meeting. At this moment, the boss that had been possessed by a demon king was speaking in such a sweet tone. Even Sunfeng, who had an extraordinary mind, couldn't help shaking his head.